Guess who's back from their old dusty tomb buried beneath tons of garbage? Resident Evil 4 over there. Yeah, you know, why not? Come back to YouTube and talk about the original Resident Evil 4 after all these years. I never actually gave it a fair shot, and really it's all about which port am I gonna take a look at. There are so many ports out there. I mean, what, it originally came on the GameCube, then the PS2, then got like an iPhone version or something like that. Maybe I should get the Oculus Rift and try that out in VR, or even go further beyond and find out what the hell a Zebo is and playing on that. Well, either way, it's the same game no matter which one you play it, so I decided to pick up the Wii version of the game. Some say it's the best console version from the old days. So why the hell not? Out of pure curiosity, I'm gonna take a look at Resident Evil 4 and find out if it's...
Hey jackass, pick up the phone.
Yellow.
Well, hey dude, did you get that new Resident Evil 4 game that just came out?
Just came out? No, like Resident Evil 4 came out like 14, 15 years ago?
Nah man, I mean the new one, the remake. It came out a few days ago.
You mean like an HD port of the game on the 360 and everything, or...
Dude, it's built from the ground up with the RE engine. Made for PC, PS4, PS5, and Xbox Series S and X. It's amazing, my dude. Get rather shit out of this.
Okay. Well, now my video is compromised. How the hell am I going to talk about the original Resident Evil 4 game when I know people are going to come to this video expecting me to talk about the Resident Evil 4 remake? I don't got that sort of Capcom money. See, this is what happens when you're in your darkest moments. You basically live in a rock and you don't know about the hot new gaming news. As far as I know, there's going to be a remake of like Mega Man 3 for some reason. So what is there to talk about now? I mean, there can't be any other game out there that had zombies, chainsaws, a wisecracking protagonist that came out around the same time period. Evil Dead Fistful of Boomstick.
2-liter bottle of Shasta? All right, mixtape. Let's rock.
If you remember some videos I've done in my true dark ages on this channel, I've done it in a regular tradition of doing 13 Days of Spook, where I did miniature let's plays of a bunch of horror themed garbage for Halloween. One of them was a double feature, for the Alone in the Dark reboot and Evil Dead Fistful of Boomstick, both of which I never got too far into, but I did say I'll someday check out the Evil Dead one, since I did like the movies, or at least the first two. I've only seen the first two at that time. But I'd be a broken record to say the Evil Dead movies were huge cult classics, all for its amazing directing style and becoming the horror trope staple of Lone Cabin in the Fuck-All Woods and spooky stuff. I actually did check out Army of Darkness in preparation for what's to come, and I gotta say, one of the movies of all time.
That's right. Shop smart. Shop S-smart.
Army of Darkness is one true example of a movie that can easily be turned into a video game. And so they did. It's a half surprise that Evil Dead has become a video game franchise on its own. More surprising that it still is. People did want more Evil Dead after all, but while Sam Raimi was too busy getting on that Spider-Man deal, the franchise would take a side gig into the world of gaming with the rise of survival horror. Okay, well, I guess I should have mentioned the Commodore 64 Evil Dead game. Yep, that sure exists. That is not in my gene pool of video gameology.
So there's a big reason why we're talking about Fistful of Boomstick today. It's the only Evil Dead game I got. The previous game, Hail to the King, wasn't really received well. Was pretty much a survival horror game ripoff. So does this mean that Fistful of Boomstick is the good one or the bad one? I'm the guy with a gun. I'm gonna decide if I got a bone to pick with this game.
THQ. Not the first time we've met and definitely not the last. The Evil Dead games get tossed around with different developer teams, and FOB was led by Viz Entertainment. Looking into their background, it's no surprise it's the typical flair of a B team working on other licensed titles. Also, Earthworm Jim 3D. That's not a great sign, but maybe they got better over time. Might as well start off with the bonus video, the most enticing option of them all being a behind-the-scenes look on the game starring the king himself, Bruce Campbell. I'll be honest, the video doesn't really tell much. It's all about the developers talking about capturing the essence of the Evil Dead, the campy style, and Bruce kind of commenting about how cooler it is that the Evil Dead is now a video game thing. If anything, Bruce seems to be stoked that he gets to do more work on the Evil Dead, which I suppose it's great. But also to note, Bruce kind of looks like that uncle in that family gathering that would just like sit on the couch all day and just watch the game. he looks great. I'm not gonna lie, he does look great here.
As a real gamer, my life is on the line. I'm gonna suck. But that's good. The average gamer would start. They would suck.
It doesn't really talk a lot about the game, so we might as well let the game do the talking for us. The game starts up with a scene of Ashley Williams talking to some guy as he explains the game's events to him. It's an odd framing device since this sort of narration doesn't get brought up until the very end of the game, but whatever. It goes back to Ash sulking at a bar while a live broadcast of an occult talk show plays, where Professor Eldritch talks about his newly published book that's a modern take on the actual Necronomicon. Meanwhile that's playing, Ash drowns his sorrows over the death of his Jenny, who died in a bus accident. I don't even know who Jenny is. This is an odd editing choice, but it's something to feel bad about Ash, as if he's already got a few problems already. Things get worse as the host of the show, Trisha, plays the actual recording of Nobi reading the Necronomicon. You know, the same recording that caused all the events in the Evil Dead. I think you know how this is gonna go.
Wait. What the hell are you doing? Don't play it. Don't play that. Taste. Strata, Mantos, Nosferatus, make mine a double.
Ash can't seem to catch a break, so it's up to him to push the dead back where they came from, even if it means ripping and tearing. The story isn't so special, but we'll catch up as the game chugs along. Until then, let's get into the meat and potatoes. So, Fistful of Boomstick is your pretty straightforward action hack and slash type of game. Controls work fine, you gotta lock onto enemies to shoot them down. It's simple stuff so far, but once you get the chainsaw, however, that's where the kind of fun starts to pour in. There's some real good double-handed action going on here, like you can use your chainsaw to slice and grind enemies. Meanwhile, your other hand can have an assortment of weapons like your boomstick, dynamite for explosive crowd control, and the weapon arsenal will grow as it goes along. It's kind of basic, however. There's nothing really deep about the combat system. There are some moves you can pull off, and there's a block button, but it's kind of useless for a little rant later on. On top of that, there's the interaction button, which is for basic stuff like talking to NPCs and whatever, but it also is the make Ash make a one-liner button, which is kind of funny. I wish games had something more like that.
Hey, nice complexion. For a freak. Whoa. Were you born that ugly? You're stinking up my town.
And the last thing that Ash can do is to cast spells. There's really not much to talk about the spells at this point. You only have one that can make Ash bigger and, I guess, maybe stronger? I don't know. You'd have to cast spells by holding R1 and putting in a button combination, so you better know that button combination, otherwise you're just caught with your pants down when the zombos attack you. The first level so far is kind of a slog, really. You kind of go about killing zombos and everything. Going to like a door and then it's locked, so you gotta find a key to open the door. And really, I've been unlocking so many doors in this level that I thought the puzzle to get into the strip club was to go through the back door with a key. But instead, I had to like throw dynamite over the fence in order to blow up an entrance for myself, which, I guess that's on me. My gamester brain is not big enough. And I don't know, I'm starting to see the cracks in these seams, but maybe the second level will pick things up. Anyways, we meet up with the professor and the hostess to give them a good talking to that you shouldn't be messing with the dark powers that be. Eldritch mentions that Nobi would have notes about the Necronomicon that may cease these deadites, so you make your way downtown and find those notes. Fortunately, the second level is more or less the same shtick we've been at before. Kill zombos, get key item. Kill more zombos, get key item. Rinse and repeat. It doesn't make any better that there are these vortexes across the level that constantly spawn enemies and you gotta close them up, which enemies spawn constantly anyway, so what's even the point? Especially when it doesn't help that the whole place just looks generically the same. I feel like I've been circling the same area over and over, just trying to get to the key areas. I may give it a point though. There is a certain area in the game where it's being guarded by so many zombo police officers that you cannot handle. Or maybe it's just foreshadowing that these are the amount of enemies we're going to fight at the end of the game, but you know, that's for later. But what you're really supposed to do is to use your new spell, the Possess Deadite spell, and get into that area and get the key items just hunky-dory. It is better than trying to throw like dynamite over a wall or something. I'll give it that. That's a good puzzle. I'll give that a good point. Otherwise, this level is just more or less of this.
Hey, nice face. Let me fix it for you. Look what I got. Kiss my boo.
Eventually, progress happens, and in the next level, we end up at the Nathaniel Payne Museum, where we'll find the summoning stone that will control the Deadites and hopefully tell them, hey, quit doing that. And hey, on a slight positive note, I actually kind of like this museum level. Compared to the last two areas, this level is not that hard to get lost into, now that there's key areas to remember where they go and where they lead to. And also, enemy spawning is kind of lenient and we get new enemies like saber-tooth tigers. This is also where the weapons start to get even more boomtastic. Along with getting the best spell ever, summoning a hellhound. Hell yeah, you can summon a little fella to fight by your side. It kinda sucks, but always gotta appreciate to have a little fella with you around. It is still the same, you know, kill zombos, rinse and repeat, get key items here and there, especially when some of these are hidden behind museum artifacts that you gotta blow up, but still, I just tolerate this level enough to not hate it. Later on, we meet the Pain Man himself. Perhaps he may have an idea to stop these Deadites from coming.
Nathaniel Payne? Ooh. Hey, if this is a bad time, I can come back.
No, this is the perfect time. For you to die!
Alright, boss fight, so you can have two choices. You could have gumption, or you could be gumbo. So what's it gonna be, huh? Are you gonna have gumption? Or gumbo? It's gumbo.
Yeah, this monstrosity may look tough, but this is just a Ganondorf tennis boss battle. You just whack rocks back at him. That's not a very good prize. But whatever. We get the summoning stone. Hopefully the guy whose last name doesn't sound like Eldritch Abominations may be evil or anything. So let's take it easy on Trisha and...
Hold that thought. Something tells me we're not all playing on the same team.
Alright, so now we go back to the colonial ages of Dearborn, and the game doesn't get any better from here.
Okay, so I guess there's nothing good to talk about this level, so let's change the subject a little bit. Let's talk about the graphics.
The graphics are pretty fine for what they are, as they seem to be going for a dark comic book type of style, rather than trying to replicate a live-action look from the movies. The concept art for this game itself shows that sort of style that they were going for, and the choice I'd say is good enough for the campy nature that Evil Dead was going for. I guess Ash looks a bit too much like a Deadite himself with eyes that have seen more shit than you would believe. At the same time, it's nothing really that's gonna wow me. I mean, heck, even the pre-rendered cutscenes look pretty fine for the time being, even 20 years apart, which still is nothing to write home about, but it's still a good looker. Suppose the main issue with the graphics is the setting gets pretty bland at times, which I know, it's all taking place in a small town and such. Well, not to foreshadow anything gets worse about it, it's all boring and drab. That's nothing really to note about. Another issue I have is the natural darkness of the game. I'll be straight, this footage has been altered where the brightness for my capture settings have been turned up to like 5 or 10 or something, and it's only because the actual game is very dark for some reason. Even looking at the old video I did, like, yeah, that's the actual natural darkness of the game itself, and sure, I could just bump up the brightness a little bit, but, well, like, why is it like this? But, yeah, graphics. They're good graphics. Now it gets worse. Anyways, Ash chases Eldritch down to the colonial ages of the country, another Evil Dead staple of time travel, and I like really mean it. This is where the game takes a massive dive for me. I honestly got a bit fed up with the enemy response, the constant back and forth, the monotonous combat. Like, if you still don't believe me, you think this is a joke? I'll run it down. So you go up to the blacksmith, who turns out to be your great ancestor, and your new objective is to give him stuff to cook up some new gear. You go to the barn, find the stuff, and go back to the blacksmith to get your fancy new tools. Blacksmith even gives you bolt cutters for you to use. Where can you use them? Back to the barn, and guess what? You find more stuff to give to the blacksmith, so you gotta go back to the blacksmith, and oops, he's not there. Go to the graveyard with the bolt cutters, go through a door as a deadite, and you finally meet up with Eldritch, taking your grandpa hostage, and tells you to find pages for a spell he wants to use. So unless you were wandering around finding the pages accidentally on your way, get ready for more backtracking and finding those fucking pages! This is not gameplay. This is all classic video game bullshit padding. And it's just even worse, just to get into a small rant, like, health is supremely scarce in this fucking game. Like, it's shocking how many enemies this game throws at you, and there's barely any fix-ups. Enemy health pickups only give you a fraction of a full heart, and any health kits you find will recover too. You can increase the amount of health you can get by looking for them, but it brings even more issues. Like, hey, remember in Zelda games when you picked up a heart container you gain all your health back? A grand reward for finding something that not only boosts your survival, but also a free health refill? Well, guess what happens when you upgrade your health and fistful of boomstick? Yeah, jack shit. And Jack left town. It almost makes them worthless to get, if not for a health regain, but it's a rare occasion where your health is filled to the brim. It's even more worthless to try to farm for health if they give so little. Enemies will drain your health down quickly, and wasting ammo is not ideal. I was honestly on the brink of insanity when I had a major overkill with so many enemies dead, and there was not a single drop of health. Like, holy shit, game. Give Ash a goddamn bone for once.
Don't even gonna mention the combat anymore. I mean, it's the same rinse and repeat over and over, just to stomp and fight zombos that get in your way. Yeah, sure, you get new weapons at this point. The flamethrower can be nice if it didn't damage you. The hand cannon's a good powerhouse, but it's slow as molasses. The chainsaw is basically useless when the enemies get more stronger with higher health pools. You're basically whacking them with like a plastic lightsaber. I could have stopped, but realizing that this was basically the halfway point, I would be no better than people who listen to gorilla tracks without the rap parts, aka cowards.
Get into another time vortex, and we end up in the Civil War era. Sure, cool, I guess. Hey, remember Dearborn downtown? Remember Colonial Dearborn? It's the same place and all. If you haven't already gotten tired of the same structure 2 times in a row, don't worry, it will be 3. Okay, fine. Subject change. Audio works of Fistful of Boomstick is above average. Bruce Campbell is already a grade A actor to get the work done with his one-liners and quips years before the Marvelization.
Me and Colonel Sanders, yes sirree.
You're a real pal for throwing some margarita salt on the wound there. Perhaps you'd like to poke me in the eye with an umbrella straw while you're at it.
How can I ever thank you?
Good question. You ever see a little movie called Deep Throat?
Ash, really?
What can I say? I'm a man. It's lonely being humanity's savior. Again.
And sure, Bruce's dialogue is amusing for like the first hour, but once you hit the 6th hour, you start to hit like those moments where German 985 played The Simpsons Hit and Run at the 10th hour.
Someone shut up, please! I don't want to hear talking about his feet. I used to say it fucking 1,000 times. A fucking 1,000 times.
And I love Bruce and all, but credit to the other voice actors too. I mean, there's actually some big names in this game. You got Steve Blum, Billy West, and even Tom Kenny get some voiceover action. It's all small bits here and there, and I know Bruce is the big name to sell, but come on. You can't get Billy West, the king of voice acting, and have him be police officer number 5. I don't even know who this dude even is in the game. On top of that, the music is okay. There's nothing here that's gonna stick with me in the back of my brain, but it's also not the worst video game music I've heard in my life. I do like there's some theming of the levels, like marching snares in the Civil War area or church organs in the museum. The flimsy orchestration in the dirty part of town, maybe not so much. Could have been like a swanky porno tune, but still a decent effort was made to get something going on in the background while mowing down zombos. Anyways, Rise Again. War.
Like the fucking Civil War. That was a fucking war. We can resurrect the South, make them rise again so we can kill them once more.
Civil War state gets really bad with the backtracking, and enemies are just about everything, really. The only good thing about the level is you gain the Gatling gun arm, which about does the best job of taking down enemies with ease. Otherwise, this level really hit my patience in every way, and I'm talking about that I beat Fester's quest patience. Deadeye warriors spawn, which are now the strongest mobs you'll face from now on. You got big guys going, but they kind of do not so much. More spells to pick up, but I'd rather not use them. And even more back and forthing. Talk to the Yanks, talk to the Rebels, talk to the Yanks again, talk to the Rebels again. And it's like a fucking pointless scene here, where this Confederate captain doesn't believe the Deadites are real. I thought it was going to be another moment where you possess an enemy, but no, here's one anyways. Like, why? Why not just have the scene, have a few baddies show up? This is fucking raw! Vortexes. Gotta find some silver to close those vortexes. The Rebels used to have silver, but now they don't have them. Tell me, why can't this be easy? Close them up, talk to the Yanks, and you're ready to storm the fort with both sides to take on the evil forces. More fighting, more vortex, Eldritch.
You can't stop me.
At least he went down pretty easy, so things should be... It's another gumbo boss. It's a little better than the last, but not so much. You at least get the opportunity to attack by exploding these barrels next to him or if he charges up a wall. Otherwise, it's still not good, Jim. Ash goes back to his own time and things are not fine. This level is not fine. The absolute worst of the worst is confined in this final gauntlet of mediocrity. The only good part about it is while we're back at Dearborn yet again, it mostly takes place underground. That still doesn't make it any better. These tunnels run through like a mirror maze and every corner you turn is a death trap waiting to happen. More puzzle solving though, it's still all about possessing enemies to get through doors. Remember, slave lords get through these doors, not the guardians. Also don't kill them, otherwise they may not respawn. Learned that the hard way. Free some prisoners, get a wrench to open gates. At this point, I'm not questioning why it's not a normal key. Things are happening, alright? You can get some good loot and more weapons, but at this point in this game, the enemies are stronger that a better chainsaw or whatever the hell a leecher is not doing enough. It is a fool's errand to get up to these enemies with the little health I got. Remember, still, the health pickups are so scarce and give so little that it is a miracle that you even get a small health kit. More puzzle bullshit. Collect the occult keys and put them in the right slots. How did I know to put them in the right slots? Game facts, that's what. Like I'm gonna learn how to do this bullshit at this point. Shoutouts to Ash Bolea for the game guide though. Couldn't have done this without you. Alright, one more door. Probably means one more boss. Let's do it.
Trisha, geez, woman, what the hell are you doing in the Queen's lair? Don't you realize that...
I hope you like the new me just as much.
Oh, damn.
What's the matter, Ash? It's not the end of the world.
Maybe not, but I can see it from here.
Oh, Ash.
Alright, I forgot Trisha. You remember Trisha, right? From the intro of the game, the hostess of the occult show, that little synergy that Ash and Trisha was getting into sometimes. She was barely there, and now she's all of a sudden the big bad guy. Like I gave a damn about this half-dimensional character that's just basically sex appeal at the end of the day.
The final boss, everybody. It all weighs on this moment. What do you got for me? You throw dynamite in her mouth. King Dodongo style. Fucking gumbo.
I can't wait to bomb some Dodongos!
Final scene plays. It's revealed Ash was telling this story to a Chinese emperor during the Mongol conquest of China. Not understanding a thing about it, he orders the execution of Ash while he holds the summoning stone, planning to use it against Genghis Khan. Not before the Deadites come again, and now they got a new problem to deal with. Ash quips. Roll credits.
Groovy.
I'm skeptical about a lot of things. Bigfoot, aliens, a good Medicare plan. I do not believe that there is a Book of the Dead that can truly bring humanity to its brink of its sanity while raising hordes of the undead to take on the mortal coil. Nor do I think that there is a game coated with such malice, with hyper-realistic blood, or starring drowned children in them for some reason. But I do believe one thing. I do not recommend Evil Dead Fistful of Boomstick. It's a shame, really. I mean, considering how poorly received the last game was, they could have done a lot more potential with the action side of the Evil Dead. Only this to be another fluke in the world of 6th generation licensed garbage. I mean, it certainly was a different time. The Evil Dead wasn't really doing a whole lot around that time, and the video games were like pretty much its only output, maybe a comic book or two here and there, but Evil Dead video games were striving to be like the next big thing for the Evil Dead.
At least the Evil Dead kept going with the remakes, the series, a new game from last year, and heck, even Ash getting a guest spot for Telltale's Poker Night games. Evil Dead was striving at this moment with its video games, but it's a bummer this was a result to make the game more action-packed. Only hardcore Evil Dead fans may look out for this, but it's not that grand to even take a spin on. Fistful of Boomstick is far from the worst game I've played yet. I'm not gonna miss playing it anytime soon. Jeez, I forgot to even mention the arcade mode. It's basically combat trials for each stages. Like, yeah, no thanks. I'm well good enough at this rate.
Well, there's only one thing to do at a time like this. I must send this thing back where it came from. Much like the Necronomicon, I must yield any stray gamester that may have their hands on this and their eyes protected from the frustration that I've had from such of a title, such as Fistful of Boomstick. Well, this is Grag Metal Socks, and this has been a review of Evil Dead, Fistful of Boomstick, and I'm here to say those magic words. Kratu, Brother, Victor!
Ready to take a look? Yeah. That's perfect! Oh, God. Got anything smaller?
All you need is a chainsaw for an arm and a shotgun to be just like Bruce Campbell in Evil Dead. Hail to the king.
Hey, isn't that supposed to be a chainsaw?
You want a piece of this? Yeah, I didn't.
Rated M for mature.
Come on, you freak!
Help!
Come on, take it like a man.
Chasing me!